Okay, more two-way table fun. All right, so what we're going to do here is we are going to look at the topic for making an inference using a two-way frequency table. All right, so the tricky part of these is how you read them. You have to read them carefully, and you have to be careful about which population you're talking about. Sometimes you're talking about the whole population, and other times you're talking about only part of the group, right? So let's look at this, and then I think you'll see where I'm coming from. A group of 175 adults were asked whether they exercise or whether they are vegetarian, and whether they are vegetarian. So you either exercise or you don't, and you either eat meat or you don't, right? You're vegetarian or you're not, right? Their responses are summarized in the following table, all right? So you've got your vegetarian column, and 39 of those exercise, 21 don't. And you've got your meat eaters, your non-vegetarians, 28 of them exercise and 77 don't. All right, what percentage of adults exercise? Well, that's just going to be the total number of people who exercise. So you've got 49 here and you've got 28 here. So let's figure out how many people total exercise. So let's start with that. So 49 plus 28. So that's going to give you 77. There you go. So you have 77 people who exercise out of this 175. So to find the percent, you just do the part divided by the whole. So it's 77 divided by the whole population, which is 175. In this case, we're talking about all the adults, so we got to use that number. So that gives us 0.44, so move your decimal point over 2 spaces, all right? So 44%. All right, what percentage of the adults are vegetarian? So all these people right here, if you look at the vegetarian column, there's 49 that exercise and 21 that don't. All of them are vegetarian. So 49 plus 21. All right, I believe that's 70, but let's see. Yep, 70. So it's 70 out of 175 people are vegetarian. So definitely less than half. All right, 70 divided by 175. So 0.4, again, move your decimal point 2 spaces. If you don't have enough digits, put a 0 on the end. So we would go 1 space and then another space where you'd have a 0. So this would be 40%, not 4%, 40%, right? And then it says what percentage of the adults who are vegetarian exercise. So this is where you got to be careful. What percentage of the adults who are vegetarian? All right, that's your total population is how many people are vegetarian. All right, so that's 70, right? We know there's 70 people that are vegetarian. We figured that out already. What percentage of those 70 people exercise? So 49 out of those 70. So that's where you got to be careful with this. So that's your part divided by your whole, and your whole changed because now they're not talking about everybody. They're talking about what's the percentage of just the people who are vegetarians. So it's all in how you frame it, and making sure you're reading it carefully. So that's 0.7, so move that decimal point over 2 spaces, put that 0 in there to fill in that gap. You got 70%. Now what they want you to do is they want you to look at this and make a judgment based on something. So look at what they ask. They say, is there evidence that adults who are vegetarian tend to be exercisers more often than average? Well, more often than average means more often than everybody, all right? So what you have to look at is how many people exercise who are vegetarian, and we know that's 70%, versus how many people exercise who are just out of everybody. Well, the percentage of the people who exercise out of everybody is 44. So 70 is definitely higher than 44. And we're comparing letter C and letter A. We're not even looking at B because we don't care about the percentage of adults that are vegetarians here. We're refining that into exercise, right? So we're comparing C and A, and we're saying, yeah, there is evidence. So it's not going to be either this one or this one, right? It's going to be one of these 2 ones, and then these 2 top ones. And then the first one says, because the percentage found in part C is much greater than the percentage found in part A, and that is going to be our answer. We can look at the second one here, but you're comparing C and B, and we decided that we don't need B to answer this particular question, right? So you click check. Good shape. All right, let's try another one. I like to do 2 of these for you guys. Hope that it sticks. All right, here we go. Vegetarians, non-vegetarians again. At least I don't have to explain it again. 200 people are asked this time. So my total sample population is 200 people. Again, vegetarians, non-vegetarians, and whether or not they exercise. So what percentage of the adults exercise? Well, how many total exercise? 35 plus 77, that's how many, right? So you go 35 plus 77, and that's out of the total number of people. So there's 112 out of 200. So 112 divided by 200. And that gives you 0.56. Move that decimal point over 2 spaces. So go 1, 2. That gives you 56%. So 56% people exercise this time, all right? So a little higher than the last one. B, what percentage of the adults are not vegetarian? All right, so there's 77 people here and 63. So that's your non-vegetarians are all the people right here. So just add those up. 77 plus 63. So a large percentage of these people are not vegetarians, which is, probably pretty accurate, in most places. So 140 divided by the total population, which is 200. All right, and that gives you 7, right? 0.7. So should I go 7%? Well, no, because think about that. You got to move that decimal point over 2 spaces. So we got to put that 0 in there. So it's 70%. 70. What percentage of the adults who are not vegetarian exercise? All right, the percentage of the adults who are not vegetarian. All right, so we look at the not vegetarian column, and we know from the last problem that's 140 people. What percentage of those 140 people exercise? 77, right? So go 77 divided by 140 is 0.55, right? So move that decimal point over 2 spaces and you get 55%. So is there evidence that adults who are not vegetarian tend to be exercisers more often than average? Well, it's saying the percentage of everybody is 56, but for people who are not vegetarian, it's 55. So is there evidence that people who are not vegetarian tend to more often be exercisers than everybody else? Well, no. In fact, it's 1 percentage point low. But in the grand scheme of things, it's about the same, right? So it's going to be no. It's not going to be either of these yeses, because the percentage found in Part C is about the same as the percentage found in Part A. And that's absolutely what we're comparing this one right here and this one. We're not worried about what's the actual percentage of adults that are not vegetarian. We're worried about the other breakdowns, right? So we're looking at this one and this one. So this would be this answer right here. Click check, and you're in good shape. So I hope this was helpful for you, and good luck doing this topic.